now is a time that you should be determined to develop your meditation, your samadhi, have mindfulness with the breath, have mindfulness with the body, following the methods that you've developed in the past. If you have your mind go to thoughts of the past, then bring up mindfulness, bring your mind back to have knowing in the present. Think if you have thoughts of the future, then that is not peaceful, so bring back the mind. And right now is your time when you're training to develop peace. There may be many people around you, but just feel like you're sitting all alone. In our Dhamma practice, we're developing the Noble Eightfold Path, is training in Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, morality, concentration, and wisdom. So sitting here like this, we have restrained our actions and speech to be within Sila, and we develop Samadhi, this concentration or firmly established mind. And keeping Sila will have the benefit that it will lead to peace. The mind will be more concentrated and more one-pointed. When it is concentrated like this, we develop mindfulness with the breath, or with our meditation object or the meditation repetition. For those who are skilled in contemplation, then you use that method, or some are skilled at using the meditation repetition, Bhutto, Dhammo, Sangho, or others may use Namo, Kwancha, In, Posat, others Om Mani Padme Hum. You can contemplate their virtues, like contemplating the virtues of the fully self-awakened Buddha, his great compassion that is boundless. We're able to know the Dhamma because the Buddha had built his paramita, he perfected them, gained enlightenment, purified his heart, and he had the wisdom to overcome all the mental defilements. For us, we still have a lot of mental defilements, and so for even just a little bit of wisdom, it's hard to bring up. But we can reflect on the Buddha, and we reflect on his virtues, and our mind becomes bright, it becomes peaceful. So this is using contemplation or using our thoughts in order to bring peace. And then we can continue on with our meditation, being aware of the in and out breath. We're developing our mindfulness and strength of samadhi in this way. If we are skilled at contemplating on reflection, and we can reflect on the Dhamma that the Buddha taught, that the Dhamma is well expounded by the Buddha. He taught about the 5 aggregates of form, feelings, perceptions, mental formation, sense consciousness, or rupa and nama, material mental phenomena, is impermanent. It is dukkhaṃ, unsatisfactory, and anatta, non-self. And we chant these Dhamma teachings of the Buddha. There is rupa is emptiness, or form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. And the feelings, perceptions, mental formation, sense consciousness is the same, emptiness the same. And in the Mahayana suttas, there's many that talk and explain about emptiness, about anatta, non-self. In the Theravada suttas, they will talk of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self. The Buddha asked the Panchavaggiya in the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, Discourse on Not Self, in Isipatana, the Deer Park, he asked the five ascetics, is rupa, is form permanent or impermanent? And they answered it is impermanent. If rupa is impermanent, then is it happiness or suffering, dukkhaṃ? The word suffering here, or dukkhang, it means that it's unable to endure. If we say that it is form is permanent and happiness, then we can try sitting for a long time and we'll see that that is suffering. If we don't eat, if we don't drink, then that is suffering. And this is a suffering that has decay as its nature. The five Panchavaggiya ascetics, they answered that it is suffering, it is dukkhang, it's unable to endure. But we don't yet see it because our posture is what hides this suffering. So if we sit for a very long time, then we will feel the suffering and we'll change posture and we'll go walk and that will relieve that suffering. Then we will go back and sit down. We sit a long time, then we need to change posture and stand. Standing a long time, then maybe we lie down. And if we think that lying down is sleeping is very good, then try just lying down only and not changing posture. And we'll find that suffering again arises. So this posture is hiding dukkhang, this suffering, and the posture is hiding the truth. Aniccaṃ is impermanence. Why is it that we don't see this impermanence? The impermanence of rupa, nama, the material and mental phenomena. This is because there's continuity. When the in-breath goes in, then it continues on to the out-breath, and then continues to the in-breath, and then to the out-breath. And so there's continuity like this. If there's no continuity, the breath, the out-breath doesn't follow the in-breath, or the in-breath doesn't follow the out-breath, then the body will just die right there. And so there's this continuity of the breath which makes the body continue on. And so because of this, we don't see impermanence. We don't see the impermanence of the body and the mind. But if the mind is developed to a refined state, then it can see this bodily heap or formation that it is of the nature to decay. It's not permanent. Why is it that we don't see anatta, this non-self? The Buddha asks the five Panchavaggiya, if rupa, if form is impermanent, the mind is impermanent, then is that, and it is suffering, it's unable to endure, then should we attach to that as being me and mine? And so the Panchavaggiya answered in harmony that it shouldn't be considered attached to as being me and mine. So it is impermanent suffering and not us, not me, not mine. The minds of the five Panchavaggiya then were already Sotapannas. Their samadhi was full because they had developed samadhi a lot already. And so they also had mindfulness focused on listening to the Dhamma. And so then wisdom arose. The path factors of sila, samadhi, and panya gathered together, and they attained to becoming arahants. So we have a look that why don't we yet see that this is anatta, not self? It's because we take it all as being self. We see everything as being self. The outer body parts of the hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, we take as us. All the 32 parts of the body we take as us. We have a feeling that it is a self, it is me. So then wisdom doesn't arise. We can contemplate this body and separate it out into its natural elements, that it is earth element, water element, fire element, uh, earth, air, water, and fire elements. So we separate it out as elements like that, and we'll see that there's no self in there. It's simply just these elements, they're gathered together. So when the mind has samadhi, then it is able to contemplate and see this, that it isn't us. There's nothing that we can call ours. In the beginning, wisdom is from our thoughts. We may contemplate into the blood or the teeth in our mouth. Say maybe the teeth fall out. We can contemplate from our wisdom that it isn't us, and we may be able to accept it. Maybe if we draw blood out from our body, and then we can see that, oh, that blood isn't ours. But then if we turn our thoughts to contemplate inside our body, the blood inside our body, and we say that that isn't us, then we aren't able to see it. It's not able to penetrate that because it's still dark. So this shows that thinking can't lead us to attain to the Dhamma. It can't lead us to see the Dhamma, because the wisdom coming from thinking can only lead us to one level of wisdom. So we need to develop our strength of mindfulness to be greater until we're able to understand clearly into this aspect of not self. So we contemplate that all things, all of rupa, nama, material, mental phenomena are emptiness. We try to contemplate like this until our mind becomes peaceful. It may be just a little bit of peace that arises, but the mind can let go, even if it's just temporarily. Because the suffering that arises, it comes from upadana, clinging attachments. It comes from a sense of self. When there's clinging, then suffering will arise. But if we have wisdom, then we abandon clinging, and then suffering doesn't arise. So we take care of our minds, we look after our minds, we look after the sense organs, the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mind, especially with all the thoughts that arise in the mind. We take care of all of this. Because if we don't, then clinging attachments arise. We take things as being ours, as being ourself. So suffering, it has its cause. Its cause is clinging. If clinging is abandoned, then suffering is also abandoned. All dhammas or phenomena have their causes for it to arise. Once those causes cease, then those dhammas will cease. So we need to contemplate. We can see all things as being empty. Then clinging has nowhere to arise. We contemplate like this, contemplate into emptiness like this often. We do it a lot. And this can be our meditation object. It is a method that we can bring the mind to peace. And then after that, we can continue on by developing mindfulness with our breath. And our samadhi gets deeper, then the factors of samadhi will arise. There's the initial application of the mind, sustained application of the mind, rapture, bliss, and one-pointedness. When our samadhi develops, we may have feelings of rapture arise. We contemplate into an aspect of Dhamma, and then the rapture arises. There's great feelings of joy, of fullness of mind. And when we contemplate, this rapture can arise even for a whole day. We contemplate further and it may arise, this rapture, for a whole month. When we go through our postures, we can maintain this feeling of bliss and fullness of mind. The mind and body are light. And in this state, the mind is appropriate to be used to contemplate. We can see into the Dhamma easily. So we need to train in this to until we're skilled at it, until we can contemplate like this. And this method of contemplation is appropriate for those who like to think a lot and proliferate a lot. They have a lot of doubts. We can use then our thinking, our contemplation in order to bring the mind to peace. Then wisdom arises and we can know and see the Dhamma. And it's not difficult. In the beginning, we do need to bear with the practice. We need to be determined to restrain our actions and speech to be within sila. We're determined to develop mindfulness. We have effort and diligence in the practice, and we contemplate in order to develop wisdom. And when sila, samadhi, panya gather together, we can see the Dhamma. This is one who can go to the further shore or the other shore. They can change themselves from being a Kalyana Chana, a beautiful and good person, to becoming a Arya Chana, a noble being. And this arises within our own minds. So they can develop themselves like this. This is one who has the spiritual qualities that are able to cut off the mental defilements fully. Cut off the mental defilements of the beginning stages. And this will be one whose mind is far from all enemies.